Hi, children. It's Grandma Carla with more of the Littles. This is getting exciting. What made Lucy run away? I don't know. This is chapter 10. At the same time, the tiny men and boys had just finished their own sightseeing trip. They had ended their walking tour of the big house with a visit to Mr. Big's basement workshop. Over this way, Mr. Little pointed down the pipe, is the root cellar. That's where we've been having all of the trouble that we've told you about. That's where the field mice are coming into the house. The group of tinies could hear loud chattering and scratching as they got closer to the root cellar. We'd better not go in there without any weapons, said Mr. Little. He stopped and sat down on top of the warm water pipe. Let's take a rest before we head back upstairs. The other men sat down along the pipe, dangling their feet high above Mr. Big's workbench. They all sat without speaking for a few moments. Uncle Nick, the old military man, was the first one to break the silence. Look, we've all agreed that we're going to fix the window. We need to do it while all of you good folk are visiting. Nobody wants to do it right now, but there's strength in numbers. Dinky will be here soon. I say we wait for him and then gather all the weapons we can carry. We come down here and the four of us fix the window while the rest fight off the nasty beast. Mr. Snippet shook his head. We ground tinies have never carried weapons, he said. The way of the weapon not be our way. It never will be. We will be glad to help with fixing the glass, but we will not take up arms. Jed Snippet spoke up. Father, if using weapons will help our friends protect their home, how can it be wrong? Whit Snippet raised his voice sharply. You hush up, boy. It not be our way. You know better than that. Jeb Snippet looked upset, but he just hung his head in silence. That's fine, Whit, said Mr. Little. You don't have to use weapons if you don't believe it's right. But we're going to be in a very dangerous situation here. The possibility of a mouse invasion is a very real problem indeed. At that very moment, Lucy Little popped out of one of the little secret doorways. She climbed onto the water pipe. She was yelling as she ran along the top of the pipe. Dad, Tom, everyone, I have a plan. I know how to beat the mice. I know how we can have all the time in the world to fix that window. By the time she got to the others, she was breathing hard. Settle down, Lucy, said her father. What's all this about a plan? Well, gasped Lucy, her breath slowly coming back, I know how we can beat the mice. The tiny group listened to Lucy. They stopped every so often to nod their heads in agreement as she spoke. When Lucy finished talking, Uncle Nick clapped his hands in appreciation. Out of the mouth of babes, he said, shaking his head in disbelief. Lucy Little, I could kiss you. In fact, I will. He walked over and kissed his niece on the top of her head. Lucy blushed. Mr. Snippet, does this plan meet with your approval? Mr. Lucy asked. It does, said Mr. Snippet firmly. Good, said Uncle Nick. If we're going to do this tonight, we'd better get cracking. Everyone stood up and dusted themselves. At that moment, Cousin Dinky came walking along the pipe. So there are you all, he said. Della, Mom, and I arrived a short while ago, and Uncle Pete told us everyone was out sightseeing. I've been all over this house looking for you. Dinky walked up to the ground tinies. Well, I'll be a son of a gun. Whit Snippet, he shook the man's hand. I haven't seen you in a possum's age. Whit Snippet smiled a wide and friendly smile. Brother Dinky, how be you? Oh, you know me, Whit. I'm always out delivering the mail and exploring. It's one wild adventure after another. Cousin Dinky grinned, cocking his thumb back to himself. After all, Danger is my middle name. So, Dinky, Uncle Nick walked over and put his arm around his nephew. You call yourself a daredevil adventurer, eh? Dinky laughed. You know I do, Uncle Nick, he said. Why, there's nothing I'm afraid of. Uncle Nick's smile faded. He pulled Dinky closer and whispered in his ear. Well, hold on to your hat and fasten your seatbelt, Junior. We're about to have the adventure of a lifetime. That's the end of chapter 10. And here are the pictures. Here are the menfolk all sitting on the pipe looking down at Mr. Big's workshop. And here is Uncle Nick telling his nephew, Dinky, that he's about to have the adventure of a lifetime. This is Grandma Carla, and I love you.